Hey there, Trailblazers, I hope you guys are all doing well. So today in this video, I have even more exciting information to share with you guys related to new upcoming characters and content coming to Honkai Star Rail in the near future. This includes some very interesting new details related to Blade SP's kit, some early team synergy information for Himeko SP, as well as new kit info about Aventurine SP and Nihilux as well. But before we begin, just keep in mind that all of this information is based on early leaks and unofficial sources, so nothing here is confirmed yet, and things can absolutely change later on. Which is why it is recommended to take everything mentioned here with a large grain of salt. With that out of the way, let's get right into the new info without wasting any more of your time. Since I'm guessing most of you guys clicked on this video for the Blade SP details, let's go over that first before moving on to the rest. Okay. So, starting with Blade SP. According to the latest information, Blade SP's mechanics are said to be similar to Cyrene, which is already pretty interesting, because that gives us a rough idea of how his overall gameplay might function. From what we know so far, Blade SP appears to have a transformation mechanic tied to his ultimate, where the first time he uses it, he actually changes form and switches into a more formal outfit, which likely indicates some kind of enhanced state or second phase. On top of that, he's also said to have a second ultimate, which is honestly a pretty big deal, because that suggests his gameplay loop might revolve around building into a stronger form and then accessing a different or upgraded ultimate ability after transforming. The leak also mentions that his overall strength is very high, and that a large portion of a follow-up attack team's power budget is centered around him. So what this likely means is that Blade SP could function as a main carry within follow-up attack teams, where instead of being just another unit contributing damage, he actually becomes the core damage source that the entire team is built around. And if that ends up being true, then he could be one of those characters where the team is designed specifically to enable him rather than the other way around. Which is honestly a pretty interesting direction, especially considering his original version already had a very unique identity. Now moving on from Blade SP, let's talk about Aventurine SP. So based on the information we have, Aventurine SP is described as an elation-type follow-up attack support unit, which can advance actions and trigger follow-up attacks. And more specifically, he seems to have some kind of instant action advance mechanic tied to AHA, which could allow him to speed up the team's rotation or enable more frequent follow-up attacks. However, there is a pretty important restriction mentioned here. Apparently, Aventurine SP can't be freely paired with multiple elation units, and the team is instead limited to only one elation character. So this is actually a pretty big design choice, because it means that instead of stacking multiple elation units together, you're going to have to build teams more carefully around that restriction. And that could end up making team building a bit more structured compared to current follow-up teams. The leak also compares his mechanics to Evernight, where teammates stack buffs onto him, and then he converts that into damage. So overall, Aventurine SP looks like he could be a hybrid between a support and a scaling damage unit, depending on how those mechanics actually work in practice. Next up, let's talk about Himeko SP. So while we don't have full kit details for her just yet, we do have some early information about her potential teammates, which includes Welt, Sunday, and Dan Hung Permancer Terai. And interestingly enough, the leak also mentions that Sunday could potentially be replaced by Robin SP in the future. So what this suggests is that Himeko SP is likely going to be part of a team that revolves around strong synergy between high-impact units, rather than being completely self-sufficient. And considering the names listed here, these are all characters that either provide strong utility or high damage, which could mean that Himeko SP benefits heavily from well-structured team setups. This also lines up with a general trend we've been seeing, where newer characters are designed to work within specific team archetypes rather than just being plug-and-play units. And finally, let's talk about Nihilux. So based on the information we have, Nihilux is said to have a role similar to Cyrene and also features a transformation mechanic. On top of that, she's able to support other characters' elation abilities, which is actually pretty interesting because it suggests she might function as an enabler for elation-based teams. So rather than being a pure damage dealer, she could end up being more of a support or hybrid unit that enhances the overall performance of that archetype. And if that ends up being the case, then she could become a pretty important piece for players who are investing into elation teams, especially with how much that playstyle has been expanding recently. Now, when you take all of this information together, there's actually a pretty clear pattern starting to form. We're seeing a heavy focus on follow-up attacks, transformation mechanics, and more structured team-building requirements, which suggests that future characters might be designed to fit into more defined roles and team archetypes, rather than just being universally flexible. Of course, since all of this is still early information, we'll need to wait for more details before we can fully understand how these characters will actually play. But even at this stage, there's definitely a lot here that's worth keeping an eye on. So that's pretty much all of the current information that I have for this video. If you found the info in this video helpful, feel free to give it a like. And also don't forget to subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with all the latest Honkai Star Rail news and leaks. That's it for now, so I'll see you in the next video.